Once you start watching this show, you ain't going nowhere else. Welcome to the show. I hope you're doing fabulous, fine. It is another fabulous Wednesday. I studied the F section of the dictionary before I came on. I hope everyone's doing great. Listen, we out here, VOD Pod Media on the east side of downtown. Hope everyone's doing fabulous. This is the 19th show that we've done here at this table. We bring the goods, we bring the magic to this table every week, but I want to let you know this is show number 19. And so if there's a message out there for anywhere you're trying to go, anything you're trying to do, the message tonight is consistency. You got to be consistent. That is the name of the game, and the name of at least tonight's game, because I got my special guest tonight, Mr. Sean Sikes, who's going to talk to us a little bit about consistency as well, because he had to train a lot to do what he just did over the weekend, which we're going to dive into in just a bit. And as always, you know, we bring the best people to the table. We have the most magic, the most fun, the rawest, realest conversations at this table. VOD Pod Media. Make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe. Get this over to your friends right now. Make sure you're commenting. We're going to get to all your live questions. We are live, folks. And I told Sean, we like doing what we do live on here because that's how you know who's really talented. We bring the goods. They call me One Take Maximo. No one's ever called me that. I'm lying. But we have fun regardless. And so thank you for being with us wherever you may be. I know we had a lot of supporters with us last week. We had some people out in Philly, out in Michigan watching, and wherever you may be in the loving planet Earth and the globe. I hope you're doing fabulous. But tonight, we're going to get right down to the business with Mr. Sean. Sean, what's up, man?
What's up, man?
And we got to give an apology first and foremost because Sean has already told us he is not all there yet. Still, from the venture, a lifelong goal that some people have that he completed over the weekend. Sean, tell us what you did over the weekend.
This past Saturday, I did a 140 mile, 140.6 mile Ironman triathlon, and yeah, that's it.
So this is the real deal, folks. You got to get that mic a little bit closer to the mouth.
Sorry.
So for those folks that didn't hear that, he just completed over 140 miles of an Ironman triathlon. Now, this is the real deal, folks. This is not like, hey, let me go run a 5K. Not that there's anything wrong with that. No. 5Ks are great. I like running 5Ks, 10Ks, whatever you may do. But a full Ironman, you know, this is why people get the tattoo on them, right? The little Ironman tattoo, because it's a major accomplishment. Mm-hmm. So let's get down to it. Sean, tell us about yourself, man. Where are you from, man? I know you're here in San Antonio. You're a gym owner. You're a personal trainer. You're an athlete. Tell us a little bit more about Sean, who Sean is, all of that behind the titles and all of that.
Okay. Well, first, yeah, you're right. I'm fuzzy. I'm a little foggy still. I'm still trying to get my bearings back. I'm from Houston, Texas. I was born and raised in Houston, Texas. I made my way out to San Antonio 13 or 14 years ago. And I kind of took up fitness. You know, I spent a couple years here, and then I took up fitness. I've really been into fitness my whole life. But, you know, I used a couple years of San Antonio to party, hang out with my friends, get away from the parents. And I started working at Gold's Gym. I was making smoothies at the front desk, started seeing some of the other trainers, asked them how I get into that. It's always really been my goal was to be a personal trainer, but I wanted to know how they did it. Started personal training at Gold's, then started bouncing around from gym to gym, finally ended up in my own spot, started doing my own thing.
So you have a really nice gym in the Southtown area of San Antonio. Yeah. If you're watching this, comment about where the location is. It's a super secret location. It's invite only. It's VIP status. Yeah. It's a very nice gym. I've been there. I've been lucky enough to work out twice with you. Mm-hmm. And I got to say, man, you're a great athlete. I've rubbed elbows with a lot of athletes in a lot of different spaces, whether it be in martial arts area, combat sports, football, training gyms. I've been to all the gyms. You know, I know a good athlete when I see him. So if you started out doing smoothies, mixing smoothies, man, what were you doing before that? Have you always been an athlete? Have you always been into movement and training?
Yeah. Well, my whole life I've been into fitness. I think that was something me and my mom, we connected with a lot. Early in my life was fitness. It was just get outside, play, you know. I was always kind of a boy's boy. I was playing football at an early age. I was running track a lot and things like that. So, you know, I've always been into working out, sports, athletics, but I kind of, took it up a notch lately. And just really kind of engulfed myself into the fitness scene here in San Antonio. But yeah, early on, it was football, it was track, it was playing in trees, it was being outside all the time. That was my childhood. My mom was very active. She would ride her bike all the time, to and from work if she had to. So I kind of grew up around seeing her be pretty active and knowing, like, man, just how good she looked. And that was kind of the route I knew I needed to take, so, yeah.
Shout out to all our viewers in Houston, everybody from Houston. Guyland's from Houston as well. Guyland Jackson, make sure you find him on Twitter at DivasRUs. Let me ask you this, your style of training, your preference on how you train other athletes that come to you. And I use the term athletes. I use that term, somewhat conservatively, because not everybody's an athlete that goes to walk into a gym. I think there's a whole, background and backdrop and levels and layers to fitness, the fitness world and industry. Talk to us about your philosophy personally of your training style, how you develop this, why you train athletes in the manner that you do.
So, I'm super into like high intensity interval training. That's been my thing, I guess, because growing up, I was more into fast twitch sports. So I like track. I like to run the 100, 200, 400 meter dash and stuff like that. So, as I started getting older, even when I was at Gold's Gym, I was doing things like box jumps with 50-inch box jumps with 40-pound weights, and just to get eyes on me in the gym. I always thought like the guy doing curls or the guy doing bench press, it just wasn't impressive to me. Like everybody was doing that. So my style in my gym is definitely the high intensity interval training. I like to just push it. I like my heart rate to be up. I like to feel like I'm going to die. I like to feel like my heart's going to jump out of my chest. I like to get, I always tell my class or when I'm working out with people, I always say, man, we would just be so lucky if we got to throw up. If this workout got us to throw up, we would only be so lucky. Or if it killed us, man, we'd only be so, what a glorious way to go, So I always joke around but the truth is, man, it's just something about pushing yourself at that intensity and that level. And just feeling the heart in just a primal way of like, man, this is as intense as it gets, for the short amount of time that we have. So that's kind of what I've engulfed myself into training wise. And I think I've gotten really good at it since I've really started putting in and focusing in on heart rate training and just like time zones and how to really get down in the gym.
So that's okay. That's a great point. We're talking about high intensity interval training, heart rate zones. Mm-hmm. How did you learn about this, man? And, because there's different methods to madness, right? Mm-hmm. I was listening to a podcast earlier about like sets, weightlifting sets, mm-hmm. right? Like what are the best sets to get you, the strongest and most powerful? How did you learn about, some of these methods of training athletes for different, ventures, right? Because everyone has different goals.
Right. Right. Like, honestly, to get better at said sport, like if you're playing football, you can only do so much in the gym to get better at football. Yeah. You actually need to go out and play football.
Exactly.
So when it comes to these things, I started looking up competitions for myself. And I was looking up things like why, I loved to do like bear crawls on the field. And then from the bear crawl, I hit some power cleans, but then I'd hit some box jumps, but it wasn't CrossFit. It was more like, it was safer, but it was more intense cardiovascular, but less weight. And I'm not doing, any Olympic lifts necessarily that are too heavy, that don't really go with the workout. So I was like, man, there's got to be, I was never just the best long distance runner because I never really did that. But I was never the fastest sprinter either. I was fast, but I was never winning first. And then as I got older, I was like, what can I compete at? Like, is there anything that's even like, I'm good at this high intensity stuff. I can go from station to station really, really fast, really, really well. There has to be some sort of competition that's not CrossFit because I'm also not 5'7", you know what I'm saying? And I don't do Olympic lifting.
Yeah.
My body I have things that injuries that I've dealt with where it's like Olympic lifting, over time it starts to break me down. So I started thinking like, man, what can I do? And then I started coming across these things like, I saw High Rocks. It's like a high intensity event with a little bit of running in between. And then I came across this Deka Strong, Deka Fit. Spartan had, you know, the original Spartan was like, you know, you go out to a ranch or whatever and you run through the mud and you go over at this and you throw a spear and you do that and you do a bunch of burpees. But then they came out with this thing that was like, okay, they had this thing called Deka Fit, and you do 10 events, all gym events, as fast as you can possibly do those 10 events. And there's Deka Fit where there's 500 meters in between. Then there's Deka Mile where there's 160 meters of running in between. But then the one I do is Deka Strong where there's no running in between. And I was like, this is what I'm going to be good at. And so I started kind of researching it. And then I realized this is its own sport.
Yeah.
This is its own thing, its own entity. It's like you can be the best basketball player ever, but come here and get trashed. Or you can be the best football player, come here and get trashed. You can be a marathon runner, world class, but come here and get trashed. I was like, this is its own sport for people just like me. And then I started looking at the people who are doing it, and they look just like me. And I'm like, oh, these people are built like me. They're kind of like, this is what they do. And then it was all about your heart rate. It was like, if you were comfortable with your heart rate, you know, being 85 to 90% of your max for 10 to 15 minutes, then you were going to be successful at this. And I'm like, oh, I've been doing that. So, I did my research on the heart rate stuff and started realizing where I needed to be successful and to compete at it. I went out, I competed in a competition, hit like the 17th fastest time ever in my very first competition in Deka Strong. And then like 2 months later, I went out and competed in it again, and now I'm second in the world.
Wow.
And it was just, ever since then, it's like, this is my new thing. This is my new sport. And I've been training people this way, but it was like, I finally found something that's like for me.
That's a good point, because a lot of people might give up or quit because they recognize, oh, something ain't for them. But so that's the other thing. You've got to find something that's good for you.
Right.
In anything, right? Whether it's a job, whether it's, you know, something you do as a pastime, as a hobby, find what, you know, what makes you tick, right? Find what speaks to you. So what Sean is also alluding to is fitness it's been gamified, right? It's been made a sport, sports of fitness. You mentioned CrossFit, there's High Rocks, there's Spartan, who puts together different, you know, variations of races. And they're very challenging. Yeah. I mean, it's not like you're doing one thing the whole time. You're doing a variety of different things. So you've got to be very athletic, right, to do them. So for our viewers who don't know much about these sort of things, I mean, is it dangerous?
I think, you know, anything in the fitness world can get dangerous pretty quickly. But this seems to be less dangerous to me. I think it's more dangerous in a sense of like, are you that crazy to take it to that level, heart rate wise? But it's just 10 events as fast as you can go. And each event is relatively safe. Yeah. You know, a lot of it's low impact. You know, there's one box jump step overs, but you're not really doing box jumps. You're doing step overs.
You can do step overs.
You can do jumps if you want, but that's not the quickest way.
Yeah.
And then, you know, the ski machine, which, you know, you've been on the ski machine with me, and the row machine. We do the Echo bike, but it's the assault bike in there. So I'm sure people, you know, who have been around a gym or in a gym have heard of these things before, but you do them at a very high intensity and there's no rest time in between. And you go right to the next station. It's like sled pushing and, you know, burpees. But it's the same exact 10 events for everybody all around the world. So if you do Deka Strong in North Carolina and you get a time, it's the same as doing Deka Strong in China. You know what I'm saying? So it's a good way to measure where you're at and to be pretty. It's like a controlled competition, man. I mean, it's getting pretty popular, and I think it's starting to blow up. And fitness needed its own thing, you know, because we use fitness to punish people in a lot of sports, right? Like if you jump off sides in football, you come back the next Monday, and the coach is like, "All right, y'all are running sprints for everybody who jumped off sides," and it's like, for me, I'm like, "Oh, that sounds like a good time." You know what I'm saying? Sprints, we get to run sprints. Or they're like, y'all bear crawling 500 yards because old boy, you know, fumbled the ball. And I'm like, thanks for fumbling, because I'm going to look forward to these 500 meters of bear crawls. It's like what I do. So, yeah, it's like fitness is like most sports punishment.
So let me ask you this. I mean, do you feel like you need challenges? I mean, do you need to be challenged?
That's like that's a good question, because I've felt like my whole life I was waiting for something that I felt like I needed to prove myself some way. I like needed something to like say like, look, man, like I'm actually good at this. Like I'm not just mediocre. Like I know there was something out there that I was really good at, and I was just waiting for the breakthrough, you know. And then this kind of stuff happened, and it came at like the perfect time. I feel like I'm in my fitness prime.
That's what I was going to ask you. I was going to ask you, do you feel like you're at your fitness peak?
I think I was at my physical peak like from like 22 to 28, and then from like 30,
which is how long ago?
So I'm 33 right now. And so right now I feel like I have a good mix of physical peak and mental peak.
The mental aspect.
But I think most men who are diehard fitness athletes like myself, I think we get into our peak performance, I think in between like 34 and 38 years old. I think that's when I'm going to be in my absolute prime.
Word. So we got the comments starting to roll in. They say he looks like Klay Thomas. Klay Thompson or Thomas? Who's the guy for the Warriors?
Oh, man, that's not a good one. I've never heard that one before.
I don't think it's a bad thing.
Klay Thompson?
Yeah, Klay Thompson.
Dang, I think he's a little more light-skinned than me. But I'll take it, though. People. I get, like, Drake. I get Klay Thompson. I get and that's cool because I'm okay with looking like a multi-million-dollar athlete. You know,
yeah, that's all right too. So speaking of athletes, speaking of basketball players, we mentioned Kobe. You know, inspiration, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people from our generation have looked up to Kobe as a competitor, as someone with that Mamba mentality of someone who is a winner. You know, one of the things I admired about Kobe, you talk about age, when he got older, post injury, I think he tore his Achilles. He changed up his game a little bit. He recognized he couldn't be the 20-year-old Kobe and cutting and slashing the way he was.
Yeah.
And so he changed up his game a little bit and started using his body more, started understanding the leverage in the post game, you know, talked about using Elijah Wan's footwork, you know, things of that nature, man.
Yeah.
And I like that as well because I want to be doing what you're doing, what we're doing for a long time. Longevity is important.
Right.
Taking care of yourself, man. So talk to us a little bit about Kobe, man. Why'd Kobe resonate with you?
You know, I grew up with a single mother, so most of the time my dad wasn't around. He's not a horrible dad or anything. We just didn't have the relationship that me and my mom had. You know, he wasn't really there. So Kobe kind of was giving me that, you know, fatherly insight of like, look, you know, don't be a quitter. Stay focused. You know, the Mamba mentality, you know, the constant quest to be the best version of oneself. I think I really just saw Kobe as like, to me, he was like a superhuman. To me, it was like, you know, everybody doubted him because, you know, he didn't have Shaq or, you know, this and that. And then he gets to the, you know, he finally won his first championship, and then he comes back and he beats the Celtics and he faces adversity. And then he gets his second ring against by himself against the Celtics. And it was just like something about Kobe that I was just like enthralled by Kobe. Yeah. You know, I always thought like, man, this dude going through injuries. And then when I saw him hit tear his Achilles and then walk off the court and then walk back on the court. Cause I don't know if you've ever, a ruptured Achilles or a torn Achilles is like, it's almost unwalkable. I don't know how he even walked, but he walked and he came back and he made his 2 free throws. He like willed his team to the playoffs that year. It was crazy, man. And I think that he gave a lot of us, you know, people who are, you know, motivated by Kobe. He gave us a lot of inspiration by just his will and his, you know, that assassin's mentality, that Mamba, you know. And it's not just basketball. Like, that's the thing. It resonated. Like, if you're an accountant and you got Mamba mentality, you know, you're going to be the best fucking accountant.
Taxes.
You can be. You know, you're getting everybody the best tax return you can possibly get. And if, you know, you're a math teacher, you're teaching math the best it can possibly be taught, and you're just going to work every day. And, you know, it's like something I tell my clients when they're planking. I'm like, you don't ever think about 60 seconds. It just goes by. Time just goes by. Like, you were 10 and now you're 30. Like, time's just flying by. You never stop and you never think about it. And I think with pain, it makes you sit there and really be in the moment. Like, you have to feel it, you know, and you can't run from it because it's going to be there. And, you have to kind of appreciate each day. And I think when you know, take a day lightly or you don't give it everything you have. I think you just really let life go by you. You took the easy way out for a little while, and you're not embracing that you're here walking around today, you know? So that's kind of what Kobe taught me, you know, was like, hey, every time you do something, be successful at it.
That's the thing, man. There's so many, you know, I think little boys, little girls, all of us have grown up with athletic and sport inspirations, right? You know, if we came up playing basketball or we came up playing a certain sport, you know, these people influence us, they motivate us, they inspired us. Even though we don't know them, you know, it's okay to have these people as people that you resonated with, man. They've inspired you to do the things you're doing right now. Some of us didn't grow up with a father figure or a role model or whatnot. So we looked to these athletes that were doing heroic things on the court, on the field, so on and so forth. I remember when I was coming up, man, the athlete that we all wanted to be like was Deion Sanders, or even Bo Jackson, because they played multiple sports.
Right.
It wasn't, you know, for me and the people that I resonated with, we were looking up to those guys, because how could it be that the athletes play 2 professional sports?
Yeah.
You didn't really see guys playing 3. I don't think you ever had guys playing 3 professional sports.
Bo probably could have played.
Bo probably could have, but did he?
Yeah.
No, he didn't. But 2 was incredible enough, especially at the level that these guys, we're talking super athletes. And, you know, I think that having those inspirations that inspire us to do more, you know, there's a video I saw of Kobe on YouTube of like, it's like an inspiring video. I can't remember who narrated it, man, but it talks about how he missed those shots in you know, when they were playing Utah in the finals or something like that. Not in the finals. It was like maybe the conference finals. I don't know. And what did he do? He went back to the high school and locked himself into the gym, the high school gym, and shot, you know, until the sun came up, and worked his way. Here's the thing. Not everybody starts out on top. No. Kobe Bryant, as good as he wasn't coming in and dominating the league in year 1.
No.
And none of these guys really have. You know, Jordan, it took Jordan a few years to get it going, and then they started winning, so on and so forth, you know. Yeah. So I think the message there, again, we talked a little bit about consistency, but working for something. Yeah. Having that hard work mentality. That's one thing that you do at your gym.
Yeah.
Hard work.
Yeah. All day, every day.
And so the hard work is a prerequisite. You can't expect life to be given to you.
Right.
Right. I mean, here's the thing. I am aggressive with this sort of talk. And I talk to kids, I talk to people, all sorts of people. And I think some people kind of shy away from it and act like, well, you know, the world is biased. Yeah, we know the world is fucked up.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to work that much harder anyway. Right. If not, none of this stuff you really want to get accomplished is going to happen. And sport and fitness, as you mentioned, is just the vehicle to learn discipline, integrity, hard work, commitment. It ain't because I love doing burpees, although I kind of like doing burpees.
Yeah.
But I mean, we do this to you know, it's a physical manifestation of the grind and the hustle to be successful, to be happy, to feel content, to feel motivated and fulfilled. I think you emulate a lot of that with your training style, because I've trained next to you. I see your gym. You've got a big mural of Kobe in your gym.
Right. Yeah, I think, you know, first off, you can't even come into my gym if you're not prepared to work. You know, it's private. You have to be willing to accept that you're about to leave what you used to be behind, and not in a cliche way. Like, this isn't an Instagram post down there. You don't see me pulling out my phone, putting my phone in people's faces, putting my phone on a girl's butt when she's doing a squat, doing a deadlift. You don't see me doing that stuff, because that's not what it's about. We're there to work out. There's no TVs down there. There's none of that. You have to be willing to be somebody else down there, and you can be. I always say, you know, you can be whoever you want to be in my space, because if that's going to take the anxiety away for you and let you transform into somebody different for the time being, you can be that, but you need to work hard behind it. It's not just for show. I do have, you know, the Kobe mural, and I have, you know, the quotes on the wall, and one of the quotes, it's not a Kobe quote, but it's just a quote, and there's no real person who said it. And it said, you can quit if you want, and nobody will care, but you'll know for the rest of your life. And that's always resonated with me, because it was, to me, it's like, time is such a precious thing, man. You know, you 1 minute you're doing well and everything's good, and the next minute you're a Facebook post. And everybody's saying how much they're going to miss you.
Yeah.
And then 3 weeks goes by and then nobody cares no more.
That's real.
So I don't know where people feel like they have all this time to do things. And it's not about rushing to be successful more than it's about rushing to make the most out of your current situation, so that you don't just let it pass you by. That's why at the end of every session we plank. You know, both times it's always been a plank at the end of every session, because we slow time down. You're like thankful, you're grateful for the time that you just spent, you know, making yourself better. And I think today's world, we have too much goofiness going on in the fitness industry. And if that works for people, that works for you. But there's too much phone out pictures of the clients. Like, this is personal. This is private. You hired a personal trainer, not a public trainer. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're putting you all over the gram. They're putting you all over the, you know, and if that works, that works. But for me down there, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
What we do is we come in there and we do things that are going to make you extremely uncomfortable. This isn't 12 squats, check your Instagram, 12 more squats, check your Instagram, back rows. Okay, film me while I do curls. It's not. We just don't train that way. People's lives have changed in that spot. You know, there's no name for it. One girl, she had called it her anxiety blanket. She comes down there. Number one rule is mind your own fucking business. That's the only rule. You know what I'm saying? And you just are able to just be who you want to be as long as you work hard. And you'll find out so much about yourself when you can't breathe, when you want to throw up.
Yeah.
But then you keep going because everybody else around you is still going. And it's not like a kumbaya in there. Like, we're not jumping in your face and screaming, let's go. It's expected, because that's why you're down there. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So the work is, I know I kind of go off and kind of go all over the place with it, but the work is real. And for anybody who really wants to come down there, you have to be willing to accept that you are not what you thought you were. You know what I'm saying? Until you're face down on that floor and that turf. Yeah. And I'm with it, because people need to be challenged. Right. Where I asked you earlier, do you feel like you need challenges? I think the answer is yes. Yeah. I mean, because you know what it's like. You're probably one of the minority when it comes to working out on you. You probably work out just as hard by yourself as you work out with other people. Agreed. But most people don't. No. Most people don't work out nearly as hard unless you got somebody there next to you who's either pushing you, who's motivating you, who's counting, reps, whatever it may be. And that is the value of community. Yeah. That's the value of accountability. That's the value of you get more from other people than you do alone. Agreed. And I've been in those situations before where, like, damn, I almost puked on this run, but man, I feel like I needed that. I needed that to get the best out of myself, to find out what I really got. Yeah. That's what you talked about, your scores. You found out exactly what you can do when you're competing against people all across the world. So let me ask you this. We're bouncing around. We talked about Achilles injury with Kobe Bryant. Okay, for anybody that's ever torn Achilles, I'm sorry, because, man, miserable. Tearing anything, ACL, MCL, Achilles, whatever it may be. I met a lady, older lady, she must have been in her 70s, and she's coming into the pool and swimming because she tore her rotator cuff, and she said she didn't let it heal. And for anybody that's torn a rotator cuff, I heard it's the worst. I've met women that said they'd rather go through childbirth naturally than go through a rotator cuff surgery and physical therapy. Yeah, well, you can't even sleep right. My gosh. Cuff, so I understand you had a recent injury. Yeah. What happened? Multiple. But so on February 5th of 2020, this year, I was doing a half marathon. And I was just training by myself. And I think it was the coldest day of the year. It was like when it was real cold and we were all getting scared that it was about to be another freeze like last year. And I went out and I didn't really warm up. I was just excited to get out there in the cold, and I had my cold gear on and stuff. And I started doing my laps around the track, and I wasn't necessarily going for a half marathon, but I felt good while I was running. So I ended up doing a half marathon. And then at the end of it, I had like this crazy like stretch routine I was trying to do, and my body was super locked up and super tight. And my knee felt cold, and then I kind of like did this, I don't know what it was, but I ended up tearing my meniscus. A partial tear in my meniscus, and I couldn't even, I mean, it was brutal for a couple days. It was brutal, and then I knew something was wrong because it wasn't going away. It wasn't like the normal aches and pains that I feel when I run that distance. So I knew something was wrong, so I went and got it checked out, and sure enough, it was a partial tear in my meniscus.
So for those folks that don't know, you have two menisci. Is it menisci?
I have no idea.
You have a meniscus times 2 in each knee. It is a half donut shaped, like in a cylinder-like cone that sits right in the middle of your knee. And it helps with cushion, helps with cutting, it helps with balance. It is integral as an athlete.
Yeah.
I think Derrick Rose tore his meniscus a while ago. Some people have argued he's never been the same. I think he probably has recovered. Maybe he's changed his game a little bit. But I think Russell Westbrook had a torn meniscus a couple of years ago as well. He had to have another surgery due to it being reinfected. A lot of things can go wrong as an athlete. You know, injury-wise, we've all been there. If you've been an athlete, you've been training to this level, right? Because the way you're talking about training is a lot different than perhaps a bodybuilder, right?
Yeah,
we know most people that know about working out and training in the gym would liken, you know, just the gym life or regular gym going as to like a bodybuilder type workout. Maybe you would do some bench press, you would work arms, and then maybe some cardio, and that would be their day. Yeah. What Sean is describing is on a whole nother level in terms of intensity, in terms of body training. I mean, we're talking almost everything you do is full body. Yeah. And so the knee is incredibly important to all of this. And so you tore your meniscus, and from there, did you run the half iron? You were training for the half.
No, I was training for the full.
Okay,
I was training for the half, right? I had a half and a full in the same month that I was like really looking forward to doing because that would have just been off the rails. So I was training for both the Ironmans, and I ended up going to my doctor a couple days after, and I was like, "Look, man, something's wrong with my knee." He basically checked it out. He was like, "Definitely partial tear." We got some imaging done. I said, look, you know, actually that Saturday after I was like prepared to rest and let it recover. And then I was going to get back on the grind. I knew I was just going to swim and bike if I could. But then I'm on my Deka Strong website, and a week later, I look at my time, which was at that point, I was number 2 in the world. And I see after the weekend, they had a couple events, and my time
goes down
from number 2 to like number 6. And only the top 12 in the world get the elite invite to New Jersey for the world championships. And so I'm like, shit, man, if I don't go log another time, whenever one of these events come close to me, I'm going to fall out of the top 12. And I don't know where this knee's going. So actually my doctor injected me with a pain inject, like a cortisone shot, and I wanted it. You know what I'm saying? I was like, hey, look. And then boom, I had like 2.5 weeks to train, and I ended up going out and doing a Deka Strong on March 5th, so 1 month after
the tear.
I go out and I do a Deka Strong, and I end up getting the 6th fastest time in history, and I ranked back number 2 in the world.
Wow.
Only by 8 seconds am I behind number 1, so he knows what's up. He knows it's coming. And so I had to get back on top, so I did. And then I knew after that was over, I had maybe 2 days to recover, and then I had to I knew I wasn't going to do the half anymore because I'd already done the half last year. So I'd already accomplished the half last year, so that wasn't as important. Not important enough to re-aggravate the injury and make it worse to where I couldn't do the full at the end of the month in April. And so I just started training swimming and biking. I knew I couldn't run. There was no running at all. Although I could do the high intensity interval training, that was 12 minutes, right? Like the running that was going to have to be involved was going to be hours. So I swam and I biked and did the best I could on it and prepared for the full Ironman.
So you tore your meniscus this year, partial tear, which is bad enough. I mean, you don't want to tear anything, folks. I mean, if you're listening to this, and again, injuries mess with you. They mess with your whole body, your whole being, mind, spirit, everything.
Yeah.
You tore your meniscus. You trained through that to re-rank yourself in the Deka Strong.
Yeah.
Now, this ain't, I mean, we're talking a fast time. Fastest times ever.
Yeah, the top.
Some of the
10,
fastest times ever.
Mm-hmm.
So you're qualified right now for this event in New Jersey.
I'm ready to go. Nobody's gonna touch the time that I put down this year.
So when is that event?
That's November 19th through the 22nd. It's a Spartan Deka Fit weekend, and that's in Atlantic City, New Jersey.
So have you gotten the invite yet?
They'll send out invites in like September after everybody puts their final time down, but I have nothing to worry about until then. Nobody's.
Because you monitor this, you watch it.
Yeah, I watch it, and I just know that there's not going to be 12 people that are going to jump in front of me.
Because that's a fast time.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, the rest of them aren't even that close right now. And even if those guys did somehow go out and get a better time, I'm still going to hang out in the top 12. And I don't even want to put down another time. I want to heal.
Yeah.
So I'm not even going to – I just know that even if I fall down to 8th or 10th place, what the person I'm going to be when I get there, like the skill that I'm going to bring, the tricks that I have up my sleeve that they don't even know what I'm about to do, I'm going there to win the whole thing.
That's what I'm talking about. It's like when you talked about if you want to get good at football, you need to play football more. You have logged a lot of time in the gym training and preparing for these events, getting better. So just like I mentioned with Kobe, understanding the game, you transition and change your game a little bit to work around your skill set, what you have, your abilities, your capability, everything that you've been practicing. Now, over the last couple of weeks, you've been training for the full Ironman. Describe to our viewers who don't know what a full Ironman is, exactly what it is.
Okay, yeah. It's really been over like the last 4 months I've been training for the Ironman, and then I take 2 weeks out to train the high intensity Deka Strong stuff.
Which are two totally different worlds.
Totally different worlds. I mean,
absolutely.
Totally different worlds. That's like putting LeBron James in golf. You know what I'm saying? That's like putting Michael Phelps on a track. You know, it's just the totally different thing. So I was training for the full Ironman. The full Ironman is a 2.4 mile open water swim, straight, nonstop, open water, no ledge to grab onto, no nothing to save.
You're in the deep end of the pool.
You're in the deep end. You drowning. You get tired and you get scared. You're gonna drown. Then you get out of the water. You take your wetsuit off. You put your bike shoes on. You put your helmet on. You grab your bike and you go for a 112-mile bike ride. Then when you get done with that, you put your bike away, put your helmet away, put your running shoes on, and then you run a full marathon, which is 26.2 miles. And you do all that in the same day. And there's no
back to back to back.
Back to back to back. You're eating basically little sugar gummies and salt tablets and pickle juice and water and Gatorade and Coca-Cola the whole time. And that's what your body's getting fueled off of. I think I burned 8,000 calories on Saturday. And like I said before we started talking right now, my brain still hasn't really processed because it's just not what I do. Yeah. You know, it was just something that I felt I needed to do.
That's what I'm saying, man.
To, you know, almost separate myself and let it be known like, yo, look, like I'm willing to do anything in this. I'm willing to do anything. If what is next? You know, if y'all want me to swim the English Channel, like I'll do that. You know, if we're going to climb Mount Everest, I'll do that. What do y'all want my bench press to be? I'll do that too. It was just to solidify the fact that, look, like fitness is what I do. You know, fitness is a multiple of things. When you call yourself a fitness professional, that's a multiple of different things. That's, you know, to me, there's like the expert. Okay, well, you're an expert in bodybuilding. That's what you do. You know, you're a bodybuilding expert, or you're a running expert, or you're a swim expert. But a fitness professional to me has to be skilled on multiple levels of things, and not just, you know, I think for my clients, it's setting an example of like, look, you know, it's leading by example. Look, I'm willing to get uncomfortable. It's not comfortable for me to do a 140-mile race in a day. I don't do endurance events. Like anything over 400 meters, I'm not good at. I'm just not. But I'm not afraid either. And that's like the mecca of all things.
It sure is.
Is the 140-mile Ironman, and it was in Texas. So it was something I felt like I had to do. I had to conquer. I had to complete. And I did. And I did it on a torn meniscus, and every step felt like I was getting shocked and electrocuted in my leg. Right. It was completely brutal. It threw my brain on a loop of emotional like trauma that I just experienced, that I did to myself completely. It's not like I'm blaming anybody else. It was my fault. And I still haven't really processed it yet because it was so like emotional whenever I was in there, you know, just like every step I wanted to stop. Like I badly wanted to quit every single step. And I felt like I had a good excuse to quit. Sure. I was hurt. You know, I was truly legitimately hurt before I even started. I was hurt. So I didn't even run leading up to it. I didn't run at all. I couldn't. So February 5th was the last time I truly ran. And so April 23rd was my first time running again since February 5th. And yeah, it was like, I still, like I said, like it's still crazy to me because I try to remember it and think like, did you really do that? You know, or am I still like, am I asleep in the porta potty at the race right now, waking up, realizing I still got to keep running or whatever, you know, it's like, it's over. And I'm just thankful to be done, man. And check that off of my list of accomplishments.
That's the thing. Well, you definitely battleground tested and battleground proven for that one. So hats off to you. Thanks. For that. That one's on my list as well. I don't know that I'll get to it because I just, you know, maybe if I'm healthy, right? If I really want to, you know, hit that click and actually make that full registration to do it, and then it becomes real. Then you become committed to it.
You're in it.
But you know, it's interesting, man, because one of the other guests that we've had in here, Dr. Nick Askey, shout out to Nick if he's watching, he ran an ultra marathon, 100-miler. And he told me that, you know, when he came to the finish line about 100 yards off, he just started crying. Yeah. He said he just started crying. He said he didn't even know why. He said the rush of emotions that he got, it just came to him. Like he was finishing this thing, you know. When you do something like this, it gives you time to reflect when you're out there. Yeah. When you're out there, right? Because you're out there in the open water. You're out there 100 miles worth of a bike ride. Yeah. That's a nice little bike ride. That's a nice drive.
Man, it was miserable, too, the whole time. The wind was 36 miles per hour headwind. So I was pushing 350 watts to go 10 miles per hour at one point. So I was pushing super hard. Normally, that would get me going 22, 23 miles per hour, and I was only going 10 miles per hour. It was absolutely miserable. It was too long. I just kept saying how dumb this was when I was doing it, but I was glad I was doing it. It's weird, too, when you speak about the doctor and the emotions that he experienced, too, because, you know, the park that we started swimming at is where my mom would take me to go fish or to throw the football, and my mom was the one who taught me how to throw a football. And my mom would take me to that park to go throw a football, and my mom passed away, you know, when I was 22 years old. So it was like nostalgic being there, and almost, you know, I kept telling myself when I got tired in the water, I was like, your mom's watching. She's sitting on that bench. Yeah. She's watching you swim this water right now. She's, you know, and then whenever I got on my bike, I remember, you know, my mom, we didn't have a car at certain points, and, you know, bills were due, and my mom would go 30 miles on her heavy, I have it hanging in my gym. When you walk outside, you can see her bike. A heavy ass 1978 like Schwinn thing, bike. And she would go 30 miles, 15 miles to work and 15 miles home on that bike with groceries in her hands. And one time, true story, she went 15 miles on her way back home. It was December 24th, Christmas Eve. And she pulled a Christmas tree out of a dumpster, threw it on her back on the bike, rode it home, and set it up, and, put little Dollar Tree gifts under the tree for us. So when I was on the bike, that was what's going through my head. Like, my mom was doing this shit every day. Wow. You know what I'm saying? So, I pushed through that. And then I got to the run, and that's whenever I was basically like delusional at that point already. Yeah. I was like, I'm just here now. I'm on my own 2 feet. I got to finish. So yeah, like I said, every step was blisters on my feet. My knee looked like a softball. My hips were ready to explode. Both my Achilles were swollen from limping so hard. And that was the slowest I've ever ran in my life.
Absolutely.
But it was the hardest run I've ever had in my life. So normally, I could walk that pace almost. Mm-hmm. But I tried to run as much of it as I could. I just knew I had to get across the finish line to be considered an Ironman. And now that's what I am. I'm a part of a small fraternity of people that are considered Ironman. You know what I'm saying? And I just wanted to show my clients, like, although that wasn't my thing and endurance isn't my thing and I don't like to ever do things that long, I was willing to step outside of my comfort zone. So I know y'all are now willing to step outside of your comfort zone to train with me. I'm not just out here making shit up, talking about, how hard I work. Like, I'm showing y'all and I'm leading by example. So I expect y'all to follow suit.
You talking about really getting outside of your comfort zone for somebody because had you ran a marathon before?
Nope. I never swam 2.4 miles before in one day. I never rode my bike 112 miles before in one day, and I never ran a marathon before.
Yeah, so to put this into perspective, folks, I ran a marathon in December. What Sean did is not really 3 times as much as that, or 3 times more than that, because the swim and the bike's 108? 112 mile bike ride. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's like from here to like West Houston almost, you know what I'm saying, dude? Like here to Austin, North Austin, whatever it may be. I mean, we're talking a major bike ride where a lot of things can go wrong, where you feel like your body's betraying you. Yeah. You're on a small piece of metal, for what? How long did this take you, by the way? How long did the swim and the bike take you alone?
So the swim took me a little longer than I normally swim. I'm usually a pretty powerful swimmer, but I was trying to save energy. So Absolutely. I definitely slowed my pace down big time. I got kicked in the face a couple times. You're in a crowd of people. So the swim took me like an hour and 28 minutes or something like that. It was a little longer than what I normally can swim, but for reason, it was planned.
Yeah.
And then I got on the bike and I was feeling good. And I was really hitting my goals and my averages and my miles per hour and my times. And then we got to the Hardy Toll Road and it opened up and then the wind hit and it was just, my pace was probably an hour off of what it normally is. So what I normally could finish 112 miles in about 6 hours, a little less than 6 hours, it took me 7 hours of driving the quads over and over and over and over to try to push myself through this wind that just was fucking me up. Yeah. It was pulling my soul out of my body. I know by mile 70, my knee felt like every time I turned the pedal, it felt like there was like a pebble in my knee that was just grinding. And that feeling alone was so uncomfortable. I wanted to get off then. And but I'm not even on that expensive of a bike, you know, and I'm seeing like these other people on their $25,000 bikes on the side of the road. And I'm like, well, let me just go ahead and knock this out and finish. So yeah. So total, I think it took it had already taken like 9 hours or like 8 hours and 30 minutes total. Just by the time I got off the bike. So I was already there that day for 8 hours and 30 minutes. And then I dismounted the bike. And basically I was already lost. Yeah. I felt like I was on like some kind of crazy drug, some kind of just I was just delusional. And I racked my bike, or I gave it to the guy who was grabbing bikes and putting them up for us. And then I walked to the transition tent, and they give you your run bag, which had my running shoes, my hat, some pickle juice. There was like things in there. And man, when I tell you, like, I've never, like, pickle juice tasted like
the best thing in the world.
Some straight Louis, like whatever. Like, it was like the best tasting thing I've ever had in my life. And it kind of like sparked me to be like, whoa, you know, I'm here. And then I was like, I limped out of the tent, and I was just like, all right, here we go. 26.2 miles. Let's get it.
Yeah.
Started running. I knew after the first mile I was fucked. Like, after mile 1, I felt each step was just the most miserable step of my life. And I was just like, I kept telling myself, man, I wish I wasn't hurt. Like, I wish I wasn't hurt. I wish I wasn't hurt. But I don't know, man. 25 miles later, there I was.
You crossed the finish line. So I recently shared your finish line post.
Mm-hmm.
You had posted something on your Instagram. Where can we find you on Instagram, by the way?
Sikes at Sikes. So SIKESERCISE.
So if you're watching this, write this down. Go to his Instagram right now to find his post that he shared about when he crossed the finish line. It's inspiring, man.
Appreciate it.
Because, again, you talk about a small fraternity of people that have completed this.
Right.
Not have signed up, not have tried it, not have completed half of it. Because a half Ironman, as admirable as it is, as incredible as it is not a full Ironman.
No.
Something changes in your body when you do these things to the extreme. Like you just talked about. You did a full 2-point-something mile swim, which is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
You did a full 112 mile bike ride in the winds, hills, all that stuff, the conditions, the weather, the sun, all that. You did 1 mile of a 26.2 mile run, and you knew you were fucked.
Yeah.
So you did all of that, but you finished it under the conditions of being injured as well.
Yeah.
Which is not, I mean, that's impressive.
Yeah, it's impressive. It's dumb. It's not something like I wouldn't tell my client to do or anything.
No,
but it was like a moment that I needed. You know, I just needed it. Like, it was almost like it was meant to happen. It was meant for me to almost be injured and do it. Like, what are you truly capable of doing? So now I think once it all settles and I lose the fogginess and the head cold kind of thing that I'm experiencing, just like the weakened immune system, I think I'm going to realize, like, look, man, the body is just quickly, there's only one reason I did an Ironman. Well, there's multiple, but there's one big reason. And my client and really good friend, her name's Denora Boykin. In 2017, like the day before my birthday, which was like March 26th, she was training for an Ironman. And she was on her bike, and she got smacked by a truck at 60 miles an hour. Like, this truck was flying, and it hit her. And it crushed like every bone in her body. And like, I mean, plates and screws and ICU and months of rehab. And I mean, she started working out with me when she could start walking again. And in 2021, in October of 2021, she completed the full Waco Ironman. She completed it. I mean, with multiple injuries, multiple problems, multiple issues, surgery after surgery after surgery after problem after problem. And she completed a 140-mile Ironman. So I was like, okay, I need to get my ass out here and do this with my little, punk ass knee. I can't let my little, bitch ass knee hold me back. When she got hit by a truck, I was out running, doing a little weak ass run on the track and tore my meniscus. And she gets hit by a truck and she goes and does a 140-mile Ironman. I'm like, man, it's your time, bro. Like, you need to get your ass out here and do this and stop being a little bitch. So a lot of that crossed my mind when I was running. I was like, how the hell did she do this shit? And my last lap of that run, lo and behold, who shows up? She's right there.
Are you serious?
Right there.
She surprised you?
Her husband. I saw her earlier in the race, but I didn't know that they were still there. Like, and I wasn't recognizing anybody anymore. I was kind of like in my own world. And there she was with her family, and she was standing on my last lap. I had about 7 miles to go. And I see her and she just starts screaming at me, "Hey, you got this." And her husband runs right next to me and he's like, "Hey man, you're doing good, blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, fuck, you know, that was like the emotional moment of like, just fucking go, you know? And I'm like looking at her like, there's like a few things in my head. And I was like, first off, how the fuck did you do this? You know what I'm saying? And then second off, like, thank you so much for being right here, you know? So this whole thing has just been like it's been like a crazy experience.
So when you came in here, you mentioned, yeah, man, I'm still not all there yet. So for those folks watching, Sean just completed this on Saturday, and it's Wednesday. It's a few days later. You know, can you describe what your body has been through and what you feel like right now, even, you know, yesterday, the day before that, what you feel like, man?
Well, right now, for like the past 30 minutes, my hamstring's been fucking spazzing out on me, and I've just been trying to play it off, you know? My neck and my shoulders feel really pinched from having my head down, trying to be in an arrow position on the bike. My hamstrings are completely gone. Like last time I felt those was the day before. My ankles are still pretty swollen. My knee is jacked, but the cortisone shot is keeping the inflammation down, although the inflammation has been pretty bad. But really what I'm experiencing the most is just like this like overwhelming, like, I don't know, like trauma, I guess, of like kind of just like, you know, I'm like dead inside, but happy and proud of myself, but still just like, it's almost like I'm mourning the old me, you know, like I'm mourning what I thought was tough, what I thought was hard, and what I thought was like intense. I'm like mourning that person just like doesn't really exist with me anymore. And like I've kind of like turned a chapter, but it's almost like sad. It's like I'm losing that guy to become what I'm becoming now. And yeah, it's a really weird feeling, man. I can't really describe it. I think it would be like I really can't. I just can't describe it, because these endurance things are just not something I do. I don't really train like this.
No, but it's definitely interesting, man, because you looking back on it, and again, you'll have a different perspective on it maybe in a week.
Yeah,
in half a year, in 3 years, you'll have a different experience or in perspective. But that's why you do this stuff, man.
Yeah.
You know, you do it to recognize the wonders of the world, to learn more about yourself. Yeah. And it's more than just a physical experience, man.
Yeah, it was like a fitness baptism. It was like I'm reborn or something, you know, like it's like you almost like gave up. I gave it all to that one event, and it's like I'm anxious to recover, you know, because I know now there's going to be nothing that really feels like that. So I don't know what's next, you know. I want to focus on the Deka Strong stuff and get really good at it. I just, like I said, man, I just feel lost at the moment. You know, the last however many months had just been spent stressing and complaining, and shout out to my girlfriend Summer. You know, she's put up with a lot of just shittiness from me. I didn't have to be. I was just so stressed out, you know, trying to train 6 people. I'd start at 5 in the morning, 6 a.m., 7 a.m., 8 a.m. clients. And then I would go jump on my bike for 4 or 5 hours, and I would ride so far away from home. And she had to be on call just in case I had flats and my bike broke, so that I can have somebody to come and pick me up. And the food that I ate and the amount of calories that I had to eat every day and the amount of swimming. I mean, you know, you saw I came, you know, to the gym. I was swimming in that swimming pool, and just like felt like people were like having lunch and like enjoying life, and I was still swimming, you know what I'm saying? And I was just like, God, this is just not what I do. You know, but I had to dial that back and be like, no, this is, you know, you don't do just one thing, man. You're just you do multiple. Like your goal is to set an example. But yeah, I've just been, it's weird, because it's like it's not there anymore. Like I'm just kind of lost right now. I'm kind of in a daze.
Yeah, you still reflecting on the whole experience. It's an entire body, mind, soul experience.
Yeah,
I've heard, just from the marathoner perspective, that every time you do a marathon, it takes a couple years off your life.
Yeah. And I'm okay. Like, if this Ironman took 10 years off of my life, then those were 10 years I just didn't need, because I'm okay with it. I'm here for a good time.
Yeah.
Not a long time.
Well, that's, I think the other thing that you mentioned as well is just the aspect of time, because we don't know how much time we have. Right. I mentioned you earlier, is like, people talk about, why didn't you just do this a year later? Because you would be healed up. Right. The knee would be 100% a year or 2 years later. Yeah. You could do it then, but you were like, no, I'm going to do it now. Yeah.
You don't know. Not to bring on any bad juju or anything. You just don't know. And, it was, I remember being on the bike and a lady kind of pulled up next to me. I think she was from Spain, or I don't remember what country she was from. She had an accent, and she said she had made a joke, and she goes, only 106 more miles to go. And I started laughing with her a little bit, and she goes, she's like, made the joke, but I could tell that she was just trying to comedic relief. Yeah. And I looked at her and I said, hey, but you know what? Yesterday was yesterday, and tomorrow will be tomorrow, and this will all be over with. Yeah. It's like, so just enjoy. And then literally 2 miles after I said that, I was straight delusional.
That's the thing. You're hitting and alluding to a lot of different things in this business and in this work, man. I mean, it's not always going to be fun. No. But that's why you do it. Yeah. I like to think you train so hard that everything else you experience in life will be easy. Yeah. I probably neglect a little bit, but I mean, the worst thing to me, I don't have kids, so losing my mom, I think that's the worst thing that's ever happened to me. So nothing else could have really gotten any worse. And maybe in a weird way, I'm like chasing like a feeling of like, I don't know, it's like a ghost like feeling. I felt like my mom was always this like mecca and pinnacle of what I thought fit was, and I feel sometimes when I'm working out, I feel like she would be looking at the workout and kind of being like, is that it? Like, is that what you're, because like I've seen her work out, and and it's weird because I know I'm working out probably harder than she ever was working out, because I was young then. And when you look at your parents, when you're younger, they just look bigger and stronger and better and faster, but now I'm older, and like I was going through my neighborhoods the day before the Ironman. I was driving through the neighborhoods I grew up in Houston, and I was showing my girlfriend. I was like, wow, this all looks smaller than what I remember it being. You know what I'm saying? And it did. And so I don't know, maybe some of the times that I'm working out or I'm doing these crazy things like, half marathons on the ski machine, or, these things that I'm doing, or 100 burpee days, I think I'm making sure that when I'm done, I did enough. And there's like a fine line between that being dangerous and that being respectable. And I'm just cool with teeter-tottering the line, I guess. I think that's a good way of putting it, because I've seen what you've done. I've seen what you can do. I think you're right. I wouldn't recommend doing, what you did on a torn meniscus to anyone else, but you know yourself. Yeah. When you told me you weren't really running, I was like, man, that's going to be tough. Oh, yeah. Because you don't train, your body doesn't get to experience, your hips don't get to experience the pounding. On pavement. On pavement. Your calves don't get to feel it. Your Achilles don't get to feel it. Your toes don't get to feel it. So when you run and you train for these, your body absorbs it, and it starts to recognize it, and it has defense mechanisms against it, and that's how you get better at it. And I wasn't doing it at all. So that after that first mile, my body was like, oh, no, fuck that. We're not used to this. I don't even know what this is. I had been doing low impact. All I was doing was cycling and swimming. Low impact stuff. And our Fridays when we're in the gym and we're all grinding out. But that's 35 to 45 minutes. It ain't the same, man. We're talking hours. I go home and know that I'm going to go home and have a good meal and chill and lay in bed. Man, it's interesting, man. You making me want to get out there. I know. Because I know what it's like, man, to willingly put yourself in this position of uncomfortableness, of misery, of pain, to know that when you do go home and get in your bed, man, it just makes you feel that much better. Like that was the best sleep you ever had in your life, probably. Yeah, I used to watch those. I don't know, man, if you remember
the Gatorade commercials as a kid, and then they would have like the Gatorade would be like dripping out of their sweat. So if they like drink the purple Gatorade, it'd be like purple Gatorade.
sweat, yeah.
And I used to watch those, and I'd be like, damn, that's cool. And then now I'm training, and I'm like, I'm doing that. Like, I'm really putting in that style of work. Like, there's not necessarily another athlete who's working harder, you know, and if they are, I could do whatever they're doing.
Yeah.
You know, if I have to, I can do whatever they're doing. So, on another side of things, like when you know, if you sign up for one, man, I think that you would enjoy it. I think
I've done a couple of sprints, and I need to get a better bike. I don't have a good bike. So that was my excuse. And I say excuse because, you know, when you do these things, man, you want to put your best foot forward. And if you don't put your best foot forward, you start thinking, man, you know, is this not for me? What's going on? I know I don't have a good bike. If I get a good bike, that changes everything. And so, yes, I think I probably will because I want to. I need challenges myself, dude. Yeah. Challenge brings change. I want that perspective. I want that experience, man. Because I'm telling you, man, you learn about yourself when you're out there. You learn about the world. You see the world differently, man. I
agree. I think that's what's happening to me right now. I think
you're still going through
like
that.
An out of body experience of, an emotional roller coaster. I think. You know, I get to my gym and I'm tough. I get home and I cry in the shower, you know, type thing. It's weird, man. I don't know. It's weird. It's like, honestly, it feels like I got my ass kicked for talking shit. Like it does. It feels like I was talking shit and it was like a little dude and I was with my girlfriend and my family and my dogs and the guy beat my ass and drug me across the floor and embarrassed me. And like I got up and was almost thankful that I had got my ass kicked, like kind of like a humble, like I was like humbled. It was like it's just weird, man. I really don't know how to explain it. And other people who have done the Ironman told me the same thing. They're like, yeah, man, it's weird, right? Like it hasn't set in. I'm like, no, it really hasn't set in. I just wish everybody got to experience it, but I honestly wouldn't ever encourage people to go and just make sure you train. You know, but if you need a bike, bro, you can use mine. You can use mine as long as you need. You can train on it. You can change it. You can add tires, wheels, whatever you want to do to it, man. You can make it your bike for the moment and go get it done if you really need to use my bike. Yeah,
well, I appreciate that, man. I mean, I think that you're touching on so many good things, man. I mean, I think here's the other thing. The universe has a funny way of teaching you things you need to know. Mm-hmm. And you talked about humility. I think guys like us need to learn humility from time to time in different sizes and chunks and doses. Yeah. And perhaps that is what we needed to perhaps make you a better Deka Fit or Deka Strong athlete, to make you a better human being, to make you a better partner, you know, all of those things. The world has a funny way of just moving.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, it was just such a humbling experience. I felt, you know, I'm a shit talker in the gym, and I'm always like, oh, you know, they can't keep up with me, and I'm this and I'm that. And like this past week, man, I've just been very quiet.
It's all good,
just
man.
Very like, you know, reflective and more along, you know, I don't know, man. It's like I said, this is like a wild drug that I'm on right now, and it's an awesome one. It's definitely like, it's one of those things I can't explain, and you just have to do it.
Yeah. Well, I give you, again, hats off to you, man. Finger snaps, hand claps, all of that. Pat on the back, man, because what you've done was incredible. And I'm already seeing a different side of you from being in the gym with you, from being here at the table post Ironman, because, and you know, who knows, maybe you become wiser. Maybe you've grown to be a better, you know, a more sound and well-rounded human being for all of these things. And it's going to make you a better trainer, a better all of those things, man. And who knows, maybe you'll do another one. Maybe you'll do another Ironman, and maybe you'll PR your time by like an hour or 2 hours.
Oh, man, I think it sounds miserable thinking about that. I want to do some 70.3s. I want to get out there and do some halves. I can progress at those. As far as the fulls go, maybe on like my 40th birthday, you know, 7 years from now or whatever, my 50th or something. But yeah, I don't, right now it doesn't sound appealing to me. I want to gain my weight back.
Yeah, dude.
I want to gain back the 8 pounds that I lost I just want that back badly. I want to get rid of this farmer's tan that I've got. I just want to let my body recover right now. I think every day I wake up and I'm like, am I good?
Yeah.
And it's like, no, it's just teaching me to be patient. I've just got to sit still. Not even the injury taught me to sit still. I start swimming and biking immediately after and training Deka Strong. And this is making me stand still for a little bit and kind of just appreciate rest.
Yeah.
You know, and recovery.
So. Good. Well, Sean, we're coming to the end of the show, man. So I got to give you some closing words. But hats off to you, man. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm glad you came in, even on a few days, because shit, if it would have been me, I might have said, look, give me in 2 weeks.
Yeah, but I said I was going to do it.
Yeah. So I appreciate you coming through. We'll give you some time to give you some closing words, some closing shout outs, anything you want to share with the viewers, the audience here, where we can find you, things of that nature.
If y'all are looking to come and get a solid workout in and y'all want to join any of my classes and stuff, like I said, you can send me a message on my Instagram. It's at Sikesercise, SIKESERCISE. And one thing I just want y'all all to know, man, no matter what is going on or what you're going through, without sounding too cliche or you know, like an Instagram meme, just always keep moving forward. No matter what it is, keep moving forward. And that's it.
There it is, man. I appreciate you, man. Well, thanks so much for being with us today. Another great talk here at VOD Pod Media. Make sure you're sharing this. Thank you for all of the viewers that watched along live. We appreciate you. We'll be back with you next week as always. And that's it. Have a great night, folks.